my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and these are the hottest Golden Age comics of the week. Um, and, and when I do this list, I'm actually thinking, is the Golden Age getting overheated? Are we seeing like kind of a crazy boom in the Golden Age? And you'll see what I mean by that when we get into the numbers. But the first book will make you think otherwise. So let's get into the first one. It is my steal of the week. It's a Batman number 20. It's from DC from 1943. It is the first time you see the Batmobile on the cover, and it's bursting onto the scene. It's going right through the cover. It is a really classic cover. It's one of those ones that is highly sought after by collectors because the Batmobile is the most iconic of Batman's, devices. And this was a 6.0 that came up for sale on eBay. I think it only had like 3 bids, and it sold for $3,849.99. Well, that is a steal because this book had just sold last year and consistently has been going up. And it sold last year for $4,320. So down almost $500 from that previous sale of last year. That's a pretty good steal. Now, there were some other steals that I saw on eBay as well. There was a Zoot that I saw, that one of my favorite covers from Zoot, that sold for almost half the fair market value. So I was debating about putting that one on as well. But to me, this Batman one is a major steal because Batman is one of those more on the radar kind of books. And I just was surprised that it had gone down. Even like $500 is a fair amount of money to go down for such a major book. There are 293 of these on the census, and 264 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Oh, and it's a Dick Spring cover. Next one is number 9 on the list, is The Adventures of Bob Hope, number 5. Now, this is an interesting one. This is from DC Comics, 1950. It's got a full-page ad for Tomahawk number 1. I'm not sure if that affects the value, but it's just a classic good girl cover. It's just a great good girl cover, and it's by Owen Fitzgerald. And a lot of these Bob Hope covers actually feature good girl covers. The original few within the run were just showed photo covers of Bob Hope, but the later ones have really great classic good girl art covers. Even people like, some really great artists worked on those covers, and there's just some really fun good girl art covers. Now, this was an 8.5 that came up for sale on Heritage Auctions, and it sold for $870. Now, this is the second highest grade for this book, and it was the highest sale ever in any grade. Just blew away any other sale. So this one that doesn't sell that often. There's only 5 on the census, and 5 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So it's not a book you see that often, and this was just a big sale for for a book that you don't see, and it sold for the highest of any grade. So I think the other sales were in the $300 to $400 range, and even in higher grade. So this is just a pretty big sale for 8.5. Number 8 on the list is Adventures into Darkness, number 11. This is from Standard, 1953. It's got a really cool cover, actually. It's got like a corpse in the furnace and a guy looking through a window, and it's just like got all these weird horror elements to it. And I think it's actually kind of interesting. Strangely, I don't know why, but it reminds me of Freddy Krueger. How he was kind of like killed and then burned in the furnace. I don't know why it reminds me of that, but I'm weird. It reminds me of that. But this one actually comes from the Feed Store collection. Actually, even the previous one, the Bob Hope one, came from the Feed Store collection. It's a collection that's currently selling on Heritage. I'm not sure what the collection is. It's not a proper pedigree, but it is a collection, the Feed Store collection. This is a George Russo cover. I'm not sure if I'm brutalizing his name, but this was a 6.5 that sold, and it's sold for $1,920. Now, this is the highest grade for this book, and it is by far the highest sale. There was a 4.0 that sold for $372 back in January of this year, but this is the highest grade that has ever sold, and it's the highest sale right across the board. So two highest sales in a row. This, $1,900 is just amazing for a book that is, it's only a couple grades higher than the 4.0 that sold for $370. That's a pretty major sale. Though it is the highest grade, and this is one of those things you got to be careful of, because it's a 6.5, there is potential for more copies of this book to get graded, and it might not be the highest sale. I think at that 6.5, there's a lot of potential for that. There are 29 of these on the census, and 27 of them are universal blue labels. Just an interesting one. The next one is one that I really like. This is 7 Seas number 5. It is from Universal Phoenix Feature from 1947. It's a Matt Baker cover, one of the classic 7C Matt Baker covers. It was sort of like a run of 7 Cs that Matt Baker did, and they are just all highly sought after covers. This being one of them. So yeah, this was a pretty major sale because it was a raw copy, and it sold for $1,920. Just to give you a perspective that how big of a sale this is, there was a 1/8 graded, so a graded 1/8 that sold for $405 in July of 2020. So this is just a pretty big sale. It's like 5 times almost that previous 1/8 sale. There's also as a 5.0 sale that sold in September of this year that sold for $2,280. So the fact that, if you look at the 2.0, well, that would almost imply that it's $1,000 per point. But if you look at the 5.0, it's around $400 per point, if that makes sense. So the way you do it is you take the number, it's like 550 actually, or 450. So you take the number, which is whatever sales price is $2,280 for the 5.0, and then divide that by the grade. So it works out to being roughly $450 per point. Okay, so for a 2.0 to sell for more than like $900, $1,000 maybe, is pretty impressive. It basically sold for twice that, and it's a raw copy. That's a really impressive sale. Just a really great classic Matt Baker Good Girl art cover, and Matt Baker is a hot artist right now. I would say Matt Baker and Alex Schomburg are the two hottest artists in the golden age right now. There are 42 of these on the census, and 40 of them are universal blue labels. Number 6 on the list is Wonder Comics number 10. This is from Better Publications, 1947. It's an Alex Schomburg cover. It features Wonder Man and this girl in like this really sexy kind of semi-lingerie style, like metal bra kind of cover, like in yellow. Just looks really awesome. They're fighting some monsters. Just a really great Good Girl art cover, and with a bit of sci-fi. So this is another one from this Feed Store collection. Well, this was a 5.0 that came up for sale on Heritage, and it sold for $2,040, which is actually a new record. This is like a new record for any grade for this book. Again, a new record for any grade on another book. Like there was a 7.0 that sold, so much higher grade, that sold for $1,560 in September of 2021. So, and then there was even this book there was a book that sold in August of 2020 in the same grade, the 5.0, for $504. So this is 4 times what it had sold for just a couple of years ago. So a pretty impressive sale for this book. I'm not quite sure why it sold for so much. I guess, you know, that can be the thrill of the auction, that people just get carried away, and they paid up big for this book because this was a really big sale. Usually these Wonder comics, especially like this is not one of the airbrushed ones. Um, I usually see in around that $400 to $500 for that mid-grade copy. So this was a pretty big sale. I was really surprised. Um, there are 29 of these on the census, and 28 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So just another big sale. Next one is Pep Comics number 8. This is from MLJ, 1940. It's a Irv Novick cover, and it features a shield and a girl getting tortured, potentially getting the hot poker, like a branding. So a great cover. Wearing red. If you're wearing red in the red, you know, the red girls in red dresses don't do so well in the Golden Age. So be careful. Don't wear red in the Golden Age. Tip. key tip for comic people. So yeah, this was a 5.5 that sold, and it sold for $2,040. And that is actually a pretty great sale because there was a 5.0. So there was no other previous sale in this book. So this is the highest sale for this grade point. But there was a 5.0 that sold for $1,002 in 2017. So this is double what the 5.0 had sold for. Now there was a 6.0 that sold more recently for $2,880 in September of 2021. So, you know, it's kind of a little low compared to the 6.0, but very high compared to the 5.0. So take that whatever way you want. I think it was still a strong sale. I would have expected maybe a little higher, maybe closer to the 2,400. So I think this was a bit of an undersale, actually. But it is a new record, so it is what it is. There are 32 of these on the census, and 28 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Next one is Planet Comics number 2. This is from Fiction House 1940. It's a Lou Fine cover, and it's a scarce book. It's a Gerber 7 or 8. So it's what's called a Gerber scarce book. It has a nice tentacle monster on it, and it's also a rivet cover. So if you look at the Planet banner, you'll notice that there's rivets when they form the title. And those rivet covers are quite sought after by collectors. Planet Comics is one of those series that a lot of people who are just getting into the Golden Age and like sci-fi will generally gravitate to this title. It's a really great title. It's one that I collect personally. So you'll notice behind me many Planet Comics. But this is number 2. So it's quite an early issue and quite a scarce issue. This was a 3.5 raw copy that came up for sale, and it sold for $2,880. Now this one actually it presents really, really well, but the description of it makes me a little bit nervous. I'd be nervous about the fact that it is raw, and there's just things about it. So there's a missing staple, and the 2 centerfolds are actually detached. Usually that kind of brings the grade down even further, but it does present really well. So it's like one of those ones where it presents really well, yet has these major defects. So sometimes, like, even though Heritage grades it as a 3.5, it might get, when you try to grade it yourself, you might get it graded at 2.5 or even a 2.0. So one to be a little bit careful about. That's why buying raw, especially from the Golden Age, is a bit of a risk, a bit of a risk. But this was a major sale. There was a 4.0 that sold, and like recently, that sold for $2,760, so a little bit less than this 3.5 that sold as a raw copy. So again, it makes you a little bit nervous when you pay more for an ungraded copy, has these major defects. a little bit nervous. I'd be nervous about this book. And there was no prior records for this grade 3.5. So there are 44 of these on the census, and 31 of them are universal blue labels. Number 3 on the list is Lightning Comics Volume 3, Number 1. This is from Ace Publications, 1942. It's an interesting one because I find that what's happening lately is a lot of books that are coming to the market that I have not seen before. You know, usually you see the same books kind of over and over again, but what I'm finding is nowadays we're seeing a lot of these more obscure books coming onto the market. So Lightning Comics, kind of an interesting one. This one is, you know, two guys in bondage. They're like dangling above this weird saw-like contraption that's going to chew them up. And it's, you know, got the introduction of Lightning Girl. So kind of a lot of cool things going for this book. This was another raw copy that sold. And it was raw, they estimate that it's a 4.0. And it sold for $3,120. Now, there are no prior records for this book. There's no prior sales for this book. However, there was a 5.5 that sold back in March of 2021 for $2,300. So this is way higher than the graded 5.5. So kind of interesting again. Big sale for this book. There are, this is actually a Gerber 7. So another scarce book. And maybe that's why you just don't see it that often. And when people do see it, they pay up for it. There are 11 copies of this on the census, and of them, 10 of them are universal blue labels. Next one, number 2 on the list, is Mystery Men Comics number 2. This is from Fox, 1939. And it is a cool sci-fi robot cover. So it's like a whole bunch of robots getting beaten up. It's another Lou Fine cover, one of these classic Golden Age artists. This was a 2.5 that sold, and it sold for $4,320, which is a big sale for this book because the previous record for this book in the same grade was set back in February of 2020 for $2,880. So it's up quite significantly from that prior record. This is also a fairly scarce book. It's a Gerber 7 as well. So yeah, it's a pretty great sale. There are 32 of these on the census, and 32 of them are universal blue labels. Just another strong sale for these books. Okay, last, number 1 on the list is Marvel Mystery Comics number 40. I believe this was on the list before. This book is one of those classic covers. It's a classic Nazi Zeppelin cover. Another Alex Schomburg. This is from Timely in 1943. And it's really great, you know, just so much action going on this cover. It's like a beachfront assault. You got paratroopers, you got this Zeppelin that's getting blown up, you got the Human Torch, you got Nazis like on the beach fighting. Just a lot of really great stuff on this cover. A classic cover for Alex Schomburg. This was a 2.5 that sold on Heritage for $6,600. This was a big sale because the prior record for 2.5 was set back in 2015 for $1,434. Now, this is up like 3 times, 4 times? No, yeah, 3 times. 3 times from that prior record. A little bit, well, 3.5 times, I don't know. Now, there was a 2.0 that sold for April of 2023 for $4,320. So this is a pretty major sale. Like, again, if you use that per point method of calculating what you would have expected this one to sell for, the 2.0 sets it at being around $2,000 per point. So a 2.5 you would expect to sell for around $5,000. for this one to sell for $6,600 is a strong, strong sale. Again, the golden age market looks extremely hot. One of those things where it makes me a little bit nervous, actually. Whenever I see markets get overheated, makes me very nervous about buying those books. So one of the things I'd recommend is look for books that are a little bit off the people's radars. So that's just a word of advice. Some of these books I think are a little bit overheated. This was just record after record, and it's pretty big sales. There are 51 of these on the census, and 41 of them are universal blue labels. So what did you think of this list? Do you think the golden age market is overheated? Tell me in the comments below. And thanks again for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye for now.